Hey guys, welcome to creatingtracks.com, and today we're going to learn how to make a trance kick using a bunch of different samples that I have. Your kicks may sound different because you may have different samples, but the rule will apply pretty much to any amount of samples that you use or any kind of samples that you use. So I'm going to grab my first sample and click and drag that on my editing window. And every time you import a sample, your auto fades are on. So for that, you want to just click and drag this fade and just select fades over here on the right side. And drag this all the way to the start so you can hear the attack. And I'm also going to fade this out a little bit. And here is what my sample sounds like. All right, so I really like the attack and not the bass or the low end. So I'm going to add an EQ and just roll off the low shelf. So take a low cut and just roll off a bunch of this low end, increase the high shelf. Cool. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a clap, and this is something I recently started doing. So I'll take a clap, something that has a good release. So something that's not too short. And I'm only going to use the tail end of the sound. So I'm going to select everything before that and hit delete and just drag that over here. And then I'm going to go into fades and fade it all the way to the beginning and then fade it out. So let's go ahead and grab an EQ, place it on the sound, and roll off the low end. And increase the high shelf. And let's see, maybe a high cut. And roll off some of the high, like crispy, sharp frequencies. All right, so what we're going to do next is grab a simple delay. And this technique we can use to make it wider. So let's undo the time sync. And change both the left and right times to something like 5 and 15. And if I layer them together, all right, sweet. So now I'm going to go ahead and take a different sample. So this kick over here and drag that. And I'm going to use the sub-frequencies from this kick. And you can see your sub-frequencies over here, the larger part of the waveform. So I'm going to select the beginning of this clip, just about this much, delete it, and let's see, fade it in a bit, and fade it out a bit. And let's grab an EQ, and get a high cut, and just cut everything over about 100 hertz. All right, so now we have these three together. So pretty cool. And another thing we can do is grab this clap and just double click on this bar over here on the top. And maybe increase the transpose. All right, so you can change that to whatever fits your preference. So I'm going to grab this new kick, and because we already have a sub, I'm going to use the high or the mid frequencies of this kick. So take an EQ and place it on there. Make sure my fade is at the beginning and fade it out just a bit. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut off the low shelf, and we'll take this steep cut and cut everything below 80 hertz. And the reason we do 80 hertz is because the sub was 100 hertz. It's cutting everything over 100 hertz, and you don't want both of them to be 100. You want it to be like 100 on this and then 80 on the kick drum. So there's that 80 to 100 middle ground, which will fill that gap and prevent it from sounding too empty and flat. So anyways, let's go ahead and see how this is sounding. Maybe remove some of the mids. and even the 500 hertz range. And once again, your samples may be different, so your EQ settings will also be different, but the rule overall stays pretty much the same. And let's also remove the high shelf a bit, because we already have our treble samples over here, which sound like... Let's see, maybe increase the pitch. Now make sure you have your subwoofer or headphones on when you're listening to the sub, because it's pretty hard to hear it on normal monitors. And now you can move this sub around and get a bunch of different kind of textures. So let's move this around a bit. All right, so you can keep moving this around until you find a decent sound, but I'm going to keep it here for now. So it's like an extended sub. All right, and then now I'm going to select this percussion and drag that here. And let's see, fade it out, make it start all the way at the beginning. And I'm going to transpose this up. And this is where I like to layer this with the main kick and see how they're sounding. So I'm also going to keep the volume fairly low. So it just adds a bit of extra punch to the kick, and then maybe you can grab your simple delay from your clap, copy that, and paste it on your percussion sound. And maybe turn the volume down even more. So I'm going to place an EQ on that, place it before the delay, and maybe remove some of the low end. And increase the high shelf. And together we have this now. So feel free to move your sub around so you can get a good sense of the sound. And in the next tutorial, we're going to go over group effects and making the sound even more punchier and fatter. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends and subscribe to our channel. Definitely stay tuned for more. Until next week, peace.